Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. This is Reservations, and I'm Rain Whaling.
And I'm Garrett Cthulhu.
Are you Cthulhu's son?
Yeah.
Or are you who H.P. Lovecraft decided to base Cthulhu on?
Yeah, he saw a birthmark on my side, and he goes, "Oh, that'd be a cool idea for a monster." And I go, "That's rude, man.
That's rude.
That's rude, HP."
I get royalties, right?
Yeah. Guess what?
No, he dipped out.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, as we learn in Supernatural, he dies.
Yeah. Hey, HP. Rude.
Yeah. Well, welcome back, everyone. Jeremy's back.
I'm back.
We hope everyone enjoyed the solo episode.
I didn't listen to it. I didn't have internet, so I didn't.
It was hard to do.
It was hard to make the little video.
Mainly because I was worried I wasn't hitting the right things.
I was rambling so much.
On my video. Think you were rambling? So your portion was probably only about, after I edited out 6 minutes worth of stuff like you told me to.
Yeah, I was like, this is bullshit. Can you just edit all this out?
Yours was probably about 9 minutes long. No, it was still.
So you did about 40 minutes by yourself?
I think I did
over
30 by myself.
That's pretty good.
So you want to know why my other podcast didn't make it?
That's
why. It's just hard to not.
But now that I have you here, did you like Limelight?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah,
I thought it was really good. Granted, it's only the second movie I've seen of Charlie Chaplin where he talks.
Yeah.
The first being The Great Dictator.
God, and that hair is great. That's his white hair. It's beautiful.
Dude. Sorry everyone.
Jesus.
I just ate and now my throat's closing up. With phlegm.
Gross.
I loved it. I thought it was really funny. I thought it was really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
At times. But all around great, like what we were texting about. The part I laughed the hardest on was him and Buster Keaton's bit together. It's so funny.
It's the classic silent film stuff that they were doing. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love like when Buster Keaton hits the piano, all his music falls down. He's just like...
it's classic stuff, man. It's so funny.
Well, I was kind of quoting it the other day to Ashley. I was telling her about the whole... when he's impersonating plants.
Yeah.
And... I think I did it pretty well when he's like, "Oh, and this is a Japanese tree," and he like does that. Ashley laughed really hard, and I was like, "Oh," she was like, "That's really funny." I was like, "Well, it was Charlie Chaplin.
You got to see the movie.
Like, you have to."
Yeah.
And and I think this is a good. I feel like I said it when we did our Sunset Boulevard episode. Mm-hmm. This is another really good gateway black and white film. Because at times I forgot it was black and white.
Yeah.
Because it's so good.
If black and white bothers you, I think that, yeah.
Yeah, black and white bothers you. Like, this is a good gateway to kind of being okay with it.
Yeah.
I did think it was funny how Charlie got free labor out of his kids. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
And I recognized Geraldine immediated.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, that's Geraldine.
Yeah. What a phenomenal actress she is. Multilingual actress.
I just started following the Criterion Collection on Instagram, and they were sharing something about a film she had done, I think in the 80s. And I was like, oh, I want to see that, but it's only on the Criterion channel. And I don't feel like paying $50 for a subscription service.
No.
I already pay them enough money.
I know, right? Because you just got the Blind Swordsman.
And I know how it's pronounced. It's Zatoichi.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
it's good pronunciation.
I had to drastically look that up.
Did you?
Yeah.
Speaking of, thank you for reminding me. I'm going to pull up IMDb real quick so I can get names correct.
Okay. Well, yeah. So everyone, Jeremy's back from his week-long Titanic cruise.
That's right.
I was, even though I've been giving Ashley a hard time, had we actually gone with y'all, we wouldn't have had an episode.
Yeah, that's true.
It
works out for the fan. Zach.
Yes, it works out for Zach. Jeremy and Haley did invite me and Ashley to go, but we didn't save up in time, so we were unable. But
we may have probably just told you too late because we started over a year ago.
Well, no, y'all told us a year ago, and we were going to start because I found it, calculated it for Ashley, and literally we just had to put $100 in savings every month.
Yeah.
And we
That's pretty much what it was.
But then everything with Ashley's medical history happened. So anyway,
it all worked.
but it all worked out. Maybe next year.
Yeah, maybe it was fun.
But anyway,
Right.
so after a long-awaited time, we are finally discussing Martin Scorsese's Silence, and I say that specifically Martin Scorsese's.
Yeah.
Because as you teased over 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
this was a passion project for him, which we were kind of talking about off mic.
Yeah.
And something that I learned today as well, that, yeah, he's been trying to get this movie made for 30 years.
Yeah.
And
It was right after he had done The Last Temptation of Christ. He got the novel.
Mhm.
He read it, and he loved it. Obviously,
Yeah.
I think that it takes a special sort of religious person. I don't think you can be overly religious, and I don't think you can be not religious.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I think to really get the grasp of it, you need a nice middle ground.
Yeah, and from what I gather, that's kind of where Martin was in his life when he read the book.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he was so like, I have to do this.
I have not seen The Last Temptation of Christ, by the way.
It's on my-
it's on my shelf.
It's on
at home.
well, it's on my wish list.
It's on my shelf at home. I just haven't watched it yet.
And if Ashley's Meemaw is listening, she hates that movie.
Oh, does she?
Yeah, she hates it.
I think it's a brilliant idea of portraying Jesus as someone who is struggling with real human emotion, like guilt, regret,
Mhm.
like second guessing himself, things like that. I mean, that's brilliant. And I don't see why.
Well, you also say that as a Catholic,
That's
that's what Martin is. Martin,
Yeah.
well, he was a. Well, I don't know if he still is, but I know when he said when he read
I don't
the
know.
book.
If I still am. You know what I mean?
I know when he read the book, he said he was from Roman Catholic growing up.
Yeah, me too.
But anyway, so I got to get used to you being back again.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so you'd seen this movie.
Yes.
I hadn't. It was my pick, hence why I hadn't seen it. So first impressions,
Yeah.
it was great,
Yeah.
phenomenal. I truly at one part about middle of the movie, I was going to tell you like, bro, this is a horror movie.
Yeah.
This is not a drama. This is a horror movie. And then it goes back into drama territory. But yeah, at times I was like, holy shit. Like,
Yeah.
This is scary.
It's pretty tense. Yeah.
But I loved it, man. You know, as we talked about in length off mic, how amazing Andrew Garfield is.
Right.
You know, seeing Adam Driver in such a different role, especially this was before he was cast as Kylo Ren in Star Wars.
Yeah. This is before that.
So he was kind of coasting on
This is
girls fame.
This is 2016. Yes.
Yeah. Because I think 2017 was The Force Awakens. Because in 2019 was The Last Jedi.
I can't tell you then. I don't know.
I don't remember.
But yeah,
Ask me how many times I've seen The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, how many times have you seen
The once.
Okay.
In theaters. And I own it.
There's, I wish people would talk about this movie more in terms of the performances, because like when people talk about Andrew Garfield, this never gets brought up. And I think
Yeah.
it should. It's almost like no one saw it, which is weird. I don't know if that's true or not. But
Well, I did read that even though it's a critical success,
Yeah.
it was considered a box office bomb.
I think because maybe the subject and the length, it is pretty long.
Yeah, it clocks in at almost 2 hours. Only about like 19 minutes shy of 3 hours. Sorry.
Yeah.
3 hours. 19 minutes shy of 3 hours.
Right. So, I mean, the length is, that's going to be a barrier for some. And of course, the subject matter being what it is, especially in our neck of the woods, I don't think that a lot of people would have seen it.
Yeah.
Even though I remember people talking about it.
But they saw Hacksaw Ridge, though. Hacksaw Ridge.
That's right. He did it right after this movie. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah. I'm sorry. I can't swear.
You can swear. Sorry, Ma. Ma has seen this movie. She loves this movie, so she's going to be listening to this one.
Yeah.
Or watching it on YouTube.
But yeah, man. Yeah, I agree. The performances alone, of course, that could be said about any movie, but especially in a movie with this kind of subject matter, the entire cast knock it out of the park.
Yeah. Originally, it was supposed to be. Oh man, can I remember? I don't think I can. There were Hispanic actors slotted to play
Rodriguez
and
they
Adam Drivers.
say it throughout.
I know they do. Garupe.
Yeah.
But they dropped out because of how long this movie was in development that they had to drop out. And so then they just casted
Andrew
Garfield and Adam Driver, which I think it's fine. I don't see a problem with it. They're Spaniards. Spaniards are lighter than most Hispanics, so it's not, to me it's not a big deal. So I don't know if that
I honestly kept forgetting that they were supposed to be from Portugal.
That's right, they're Portuguese. From all the things I read, nobody really mentioned it, so it wasn't really that controversial or anything.
And I think it's, you forget. Like I forgot that they were supposed to be from Portugal until the Japanese actors would bring it up.
Right, that they're
they're Portuguese, even though they're called Padre the whole movie, which is more. But again, that's also more, Catholic way of saying father too, right?
It's like, I mean, it depends. It depends on where you are.
Okay. Okay. So well, let's hit everyone, Jeremy, with you back. Let's hit everyone with that brief synopsis real quick.
Okay. Two priests are insistent on taking a journey to Japan in 1640. About 1640, 1641.
Yeah, because the closing narration from Dieter, I think when he starts is like 1644.
Ferreira was there in the 30s.
Yes.
And it took almost 10 years for him to get the letter. So it was about 1640. They're insistent of going to, in a way, rescue Father Ferreira from Japan of the persecution of Christians and Catholics, as that religion is outlawed in Japan at this time.
Yes.
And on their journey, they meet a lot of hiding, secretive Christians in Japan. They come across their guide is sort of a Judas type character, and we'll talk about him in length. Hold on, I have his name right here. Kichiro.
Yeah.
Where am I? Okay. So
yeah.
So along their journey, they perform sacraments, they hear confessions, they say mass, they get baptisms, they do what they're there to do while also spreading the word of Christ, right? Mm-hmm. They are continuing the mission while searching for their fellow priest.
And mentor. Yeah.
And mentor of theirs. So along the way they get separated. Rodriguez, who is Andrew Garfield's character, gets captured and betrayed by Kichiro.
Yep.
And is struggling with the idea of apostatizing. Apostatizing meaning to turn your back and renounce the church, renounce Christ, right?
Yeah.
A lot of death follows the resistance of apostatizing, which some would say could have been avoided. And finally, he finds and meets with Father Ferreira, who did apostatize, who is living among the Japanese as a Buddhist and as an outspoken, how would I say it? An outspoken advocate for the persecution of Christians and Catholics, which is very odd, right? And eventually, after torture and imprisonment, Rodriguez finally whatever. And he finally renounces the church and joins Ferreira in their I wouldn't, in their job of persecuting and keeping Catholic and Christian
ideologies.
right, people, ideologies, and symbols out of Japan
Yes.
until the day he dies.
Yep. Until both of them die. Yeah.
Right, until both of them die. He stays in Japan for the rest of his life. But did he really apostatize?
That's the question.
That's up for interpretation. So that is silence in a nutshell. Obviously, I yada yada through a lot.
Oh yeah, because we're going to talk about it.
That's right. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah, man. Where to begin?
So the idea, really, the main drive, the main reason that these two priests want to go and find Father Ferreira is really to prove to Portugal, prove to the church that he did not apostatize, that he did not
Renounce his faith.
Right? Because to them, he is the mentor, he is the reason they are priests, right?
Yeah.
And to turn your back from the church is unforgivable.
Well, and as I learned, Father Ferreira was a real priest and a very famous priest because he did renounce his faith. And he did live in Japan until he died.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a lot of research on the historical accuracy of the movie today because
Was it slow at work?
a little bit. And also I did it on my lunch break.
Oh,
so.
nice.
And for a time, and as the movie explains, there was a time where Japan was kind of okay with it. But then, and they even say this in the special features of the movie that once the shoguns and the governors learned of how dangerous this could be, that's when it became outlawed and persecution started and so as of now, because I wanted to see as of now, Japan of course is okay with Christianity,
Of course.
but they have, I believe it's less than 1% of their population is Christian.
Wow.
Although they do say that most men and women who get married in Japan do have Christian weddings.
Interesting.
Which was like less than 1% of the population is still Christian, but more Christian weddings are held.
Perhaps culturally they feel as if the Christian wedding is more of a traditional wedding. And
Maybe.
it's less of the religion and more of the wedding.
Maybe.
That's obviously, I'm guessing, but
Maybe. But
that's interesting.
yeah. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, because I did know from somewhere, knowing that there was this time in Japan where Christians were persecuted and tortured.
Yeah.
And
Punished and killed.
yeah. And killed. Not driven out of the country, they were killed.
Right.
Which is extremist, but as we were talking about off mic, both are neither right nor wrong.
Right. So that's what this story, what the novel and what the movie does so well is it's not one-sided.
Yeah.
Right? Because as we'll discuss throughout this is Rodriguez isn't a saint.
No.
Right? I think that his stubbornness and in his arrogance of this drive to be Christ-like is sort of blinding him to the harm he's causing to his fellow Christians around him. Right?
Yeah. Like when they finally flee from the village towards the beginning of the movie, and Adam Driver's character tells him, like, they died for us.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, they didn't die for us. And it takes Ferreira to tell him, like, no, they've renounced their faith. They're being tortured for you.
Yeah.
To finally kind of make him understand, like,
Yeah.
this has nothing to do with your faith. This has everything to do with you.
Right.
Which is just so fascinating. It really was, man. So I think we should start there with Rodriguez.
Okay.
First of all, if I didn't say it enough, Andrew Garfield.
Incredible. Yeah.
Killed it.
He also lost weight. He's skinny to begin with.
Well, yeah, and I read that they both.
The commitment, the physical commitment, especially on Driver's part. Driver lost, I think it was 40 to start, and he ended up losing 60.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And they're both already lanky.
I think at that time Driver was pretty, like, he was getting pretty buff, I think, and then he just lost it all for this.
Yeah.
He was a Marine.
Yeah.
So he knows how to bulk up that weight, probably.
Oh yeah. I think people forget that all the time, that he was a.
I know.
Because, hang on, sidebar. I think it's because of how good of an actor he is.
Maybe.
And also how funny he is. I think that's why people forget he's a Marine.
He's a Marine, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Anyway, so Andrew Garfield. Yeah, crushed it. But yeah, so Rodriguez, yeah, as you've been saying, he's very stubborn, but it's almost a stubbornness that he can't even see.
I don't think he realizes his stubbornness. I think that he himself believes he is
doing the right thing.
right, but at some points he feels like he is Japan's only hope.
Yeah.
Right? He feels as if without him and without his I mean, it is sort of like stubbornness, but without him maintaining his beliefs and refusal to apostatize, that if he apostatized, there is no hope for Japan. Which in and of itself is arrogant because, again, we get into this sort of this weird area of, well, I understand you're wanting to quote save these people and convert them to Christianity, but they're doing just fine with Buddhism, right?
Yeah.
It's sort of that, which I've never liked about certain religions is the idea of converting other people and trying to talk other people out of their religion and into yours. I feel like that's sort of arrogant, but that's my own personal beliefs. So I see both sides. I see his willingness to do what he believes is right. And
what he's trained to do.
Right. It's his mission, right? His mission is to go and spread the word of Christ, right?
Yeah.
That's obvious. But the lengths he goes to and the harm he causes, right? Mm-hmm. I think outweighs the good it would have done.
Yeah.
Right? To him, the good it would have done.
Well, and and this kind of goes, maybe this is my own personal thing as well. It kind of goes into that, like, it's okay to talk to other people about your religion, but to force it,
right,
and try to get them to change, I think is where therein lies the problem.
Right. And I do like the fact that he is still performing these sacraments for the Christians that are there, mm-hmm. right? Giving them peace of mind because, like the villagers were saying, like we haven't had anyone to hear our confessions. We haven't had baptisms. We don't have mass. Right? Mm-hmm. The only one that they do perform is baptisms. I'm sorry. That's the only sacrament that they perform.
Because the village leader, that's all he can do.
Right.
Because he's not a full priest.
Right.
Yeah.
And so to have a priest there is so comforting to them because they can, they can have confession. They can have mass. Right? They can have Eucharist. Right? Mm-hmm. Which is the host and the wine.
Communion,
yeah.
For a Baptist.
Oh, sorry, communion.
I'm not a Baptist anymore. Anyway,
so I understand that,
Yeah.
But again, he gets in his own way.
Yeah.
Or he gets in the way of others.
Yeah, he really does.
Which is worse.
Yeah, and he. And I love when we meet the interpreter, and I love that's how he's credited. The interpreter. I can't pronounce that actor's name. He's phenomenal. He is great. He just recently played Lord Raiden in the Mortal Kombat movie.
Is that right?
The movie's okay. but knowing that it was him, I was like, well, he does a great job.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I love when we meet him. He's already kind of written off Rodriguez and even calls him arrogant. Like he's an arrogant man.
And he'll fall like the rest of them. Basically, is what he says.
Yeah. And I think it's, it kind of goes to that, not necessarily old adage, but, his willingness not to bend. Mm-hmm. Because eventually he will break.
Right.
And of course he does.
He does.
But it's so much stress is caused if he was just willing to bend, I think, a little bit more, not a lot of this awful things would have happened.
Yeah, especially at the end, right?
Yeah.
When he finally steps on the fumi, I think is what they call it, where they're stepping on the images of the religion, right? And the last one was Christ. Like, the other ones haven't really been. I think one of them was the Virgin Mary, and
wasn't one of them the...
One of them was the crucifixion, and then that one was just Jesus.
Yeah.
Now, there is a moment in the film where, and by the way, I am in love with how Scorsese shows us Rodriguez's version of Jesus, right? That it's almost like a fresco. It's like a painting, right, of just his face. I love that when Rodriguez is describing how he sees Jesus, and when he closes his eyes, or he sees Christ, and Scorsese is just showing us the painting, right? And then later on, when Rodriguez is looking into the stream, and his face is Christ's face, right? Again, this is where that arrogance comes in, right? Where he thinks he is best at Japan, and he will successfully convert, right? Or succeed in finding Ferreira and in getting him out of there, and maybe even staying to continue the mission. And that's when he's caught, right?
Well, of course he was betrayed.
Right?
But his arrogance. No, that's not right. His pride, really. Yeah. His pride is his downfall, and that's something that, and I love towards the end when he finally renounces. That's something that Ferreira says to him. Like, what do you think? You think that because you're suffering, you think you've suffered the way Jesus has? Like the two, and they are not the same.
Right. And I think what the story does so beautifully is it's got me for a while. I am thinking that Rodriguez is the holiest of holies, right? But then I start to see the cracks in the chips, and I start to see, like, oh, he's doing harm, real harm, by trying to do good, right? And by staying so headstrong, staying so prideful, right? That we're starting to see it. And then, of course, at the end, you're just like, dude,
just get it over with. Yeah.
You've done enough. You've done enough damage, right? And just the way the story, it's beautifully done. And it works so well, and it unfolds so seamlessly, right?
Yeah. I really thought he would have given up and renounced when Adam Driver died. I thought that would have been it, because especially what the interpreter says to him is, at least he died clean. He was willing to die, as where Rodriguez, I don't think it necessarily is willing to die, but he's being so headstrong,
right,
that others are dying for him.
And again, I don't want to just bash Rodriguez. We're not.
No.
I'm not saying that he's a bad guy. He's not.
No.
Again, I can see.
Bad guys don't know they're the bad guys.
I don't. I can see his point. I can see why he wants to stay strong. I can see why he refuses to apostatize. I can see why he refuses to give up the thing that he loves the most, which is Christ, and which is his religion. He is his religion. It is all of him, right? And so to give up something that is all of you is hard. And you wouldn't want to, right? No matter what. And
that's such, and Scorsese does such a good job, and even the screenwriter, I don't remember his name, they do such a good job.
Jay Cox.
With that line that Ferreira says to him right when he does it is, this is going to be the hardest loving thing you've ever done. And I think that's what it is, is that's what Ferreira is saying to him is, yes, you are renouncing the church, but it's not, you're not doing it out of hate. You're not doing it because you hate Christ. You're not doing it because you hate our religion. You're doing it because if you don't, these innocent people that you're here to help will continue to die.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, maybe I'm reaching with that.
No, I don't think so. Sorry, I was reading some of the things I highlighted. And this one, which one was this one? This one was Vox. And let me see. Let me see if this is even worth reading right now. He's talking about Rodriguez here.
Mm-hmm.
He is questioning whether his faith is faith at all, and whether God is with him even when he seems to be so far away.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this is when he is, dealing and really struggling with the apostatize, right? Whether or not to apostatize in that moment, right? And dude, that moment when he hears Christ. Right?
Yeah.
Which is the actor who is the priest in the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
That's in the
Yeah, shout out to...
His name is... Jesus Christ.
I was about to say, his name is hard to pronounce.
I want to say Syrian Hines?
I think that's it. If anyone has seen...
The Terror, which is great. AMC miniseries, Ridley Scott.
Deathly Hallows Part 2, he's Dumbledore's brother.
Yep.
Lesser known movies that he probably should have not said yes to: Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance.
I didn't see that.
Laura Croft, Cradle of Life or whatever. The second one, the movie sucked. Anyway,
But his performance here is tremendous because
absolutely.
I had to look up who it was because I was like, oh, we haven't heard that voice yet, but we have. But
Yeah.
But it does stand to reason, or it brings up the question. I mean, is it Christ, right?
Yeah.
Because you could just say that it is Christ, right? That is allowing him to let go and sacrifice what you believe for the benefit of others, right?
Yeah.
Or he is trying to convince himself, right?
Yeah.
By using a voice he knows and is familiar with.
I didn't think about it like that.
Right, to finally let go.
Yeah, to pretty much tell him it's okay.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like if he heard it from, if he had heard it from the main priest, then it would have been fine.
I think that, he wouldn't have done it consciously, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I think that because this far he's struggling with prayer because he feels as if he's praying to silence, right?
Yeah.
He feels alone. He feels abandoned, right? In this place that is so devoid of hope, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially in his case.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's another great line too of, when he's about to do it and he says, Christ is here, I just can't hear him.
Yeah.
And then that's when he hears him. But
right.
Yeah, it's and this is only, when he is captured in the rest of the movie, we're still halfway into the movie. I didn't think he would get captured until maybe about 50 minutes left of the movie. No, he gets captured in the middle, and now the movie now is a torture movie.
Right, and I think it plays out that way, number one, because I think that in this scenario, Rodriguez feels that if he is suffering the way Christ did, right, we're watching him sort of, I think, I don't think he should be thinking this way, but he is believing that, he is Japan's savior.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
he's their last hope.
Well, and, this goes back to, I can't pronounce that governor's name, the Inquisitor.
Yeah.
He also...
That guy's amazing.
Yeah, he's a great actor.
Yeah. Tremendous.
I was a little annoyed with his voice at first, but then as the movie progressed, I was like, oh, that's...
I don't think he did it on purpose, but there's a little Rashomon moment when he's meeting with that council for the first time.
Oh, yeah, when he's like, prepare your testimony.
Right.
And so it was like, hey, Rashomon.
It's like Rashomon, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if Scorsese did that on purpose, but...
Dude, he had to. He got to. But as I was watching in the supplements for the movie, the Inquisitor kind of targets Rodriguez, and more than the other priests, wants to make an example of him. As,
Yes. Yeah.
If he can do it, then that's it.
Absolutely.
This is it.
And that's why he does it in front of all these people constantly, right? Very rarely is it one-on-one with them.
Yeah.
There's usually an audience because he wants, if this is the moment he breaks, people need to see it. Because he has been so prideful, so headstrong, so unwilling to apostatize. If he does, others will see. And then...
That'll be it.
Again, it's all to push an agenda. They're both doing what they think is best in terms of their religious beliefs.
Would you like to learn something interesting?
I would.
Apparently, the Inquisitor...
Good luck.
In Some?
Sure.
I'll
look.
He's a real person as well, just like Father Ferreira.
Mm-hmm.
He apparently was a Christian.
Yeah.
And then he renounced his faith.
Interesting.
That
is fascinating.
That is fascinating, right?
Yeah.
The main guy who's been persecuting the Christians and the priests in actual history was a Christian himself until, I guess he realized maybe how dangerous it could be. And I love that's the word they use a lot with Christianity. It's dangerous.
Dangerous. And they don't really go into detail of what it means. What do they mean by it's dangerous?
Yeah.
Right?
I think, and I'm looking at it purely at a high class and middle class.
Sure.
Or low class, actually. Christianity was bringing hope to the lower class, to the peasants.
Okay.
And the high class couldn't, because if they had hope,
Maybe.
then they couldn't break them. But if they break their hope and get rid of the thing that gives them hope.
I think if I knew more about Buddhism,
maybe
I would understand why they saw it as a threat to Buddhism.
Yeah.
Or a threat to their daily life, right?
Yeah.
It's probably just that gap of difference between the two that, well, if you're right, then
I've been wrong.
Then I've been wrong, and I've been wrong big, right?
Yeah.
It's not the difference between Baptist and Catholic. I think it's going to be like a huge difference, right?
Right.
Between the two. Richard Gere, by the way, Buddhist. We could ask him, get him on the line.
Let me just call him real quick.
So...
Richard, pretty woman.
But this is a good way to segue into the Japanese point of view.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, again, in the eyes of Rodriguez, they are the antagonists.
Yes.
But...
From their point of view.
But not really, right? They're not, in their eyes, right? Which is what this movie does so well. It balances these things very well.
Yeah, the movie starts where we think the Japanese are the villains,
right?
By seeing them torture these priests.
Mm-hmm.
But then as the movie progresses, we see, especially with the Inquisitor telling the peasants, we don't hate you, we don't do this to be personal, like we just don't want this here,
right?
And then that's when the movie starts to shift it as, well, maybe they're not bad people either,
right? And especially when Ferreira shows up at near the end.
Dude, we can spend 2 hours talking about that scene. That's my favorite.
His sort of
scene.
explanation of it isn't malicious, isn't antagonistic.
Because he's finally understood.
Right. His eyes, in his point of view, are now open. Right. Yeah. He sees, and of course, it's sort of like, I would imagine, learning. If you wanted to learn a language. You go and you immerse yourself, right? Yeah. If you are immersed with you're wrong, we're right, and are tortured in that sense, I think your mind will be changed no matter what, right?
Yeah.
Well, give it enough time.
Well, and it kind of goes back to when we first meet the interpreter, and he's having that conversation with Rodriguez about how, there was a priest here who, taught the gospel, but he hated our culture and he hated our language and hated this and Rodriguez goes, well, I'm not him, and And I do believe that. It didn't seem like Rodriguez hated their culture. He didn't. He was just doing what he was there to do, which was preach the gospel. But then the interpreter goes, well, but did it miss you that we have our own religion?
Right.
Which is such a great...
And again, that's how I feel personally about it, right?
Yeah.
Is if they got their own thing, leave them alone, right?
Yeah.
And that's where we can see the Japanese side as they see it as a sort of war on their culture.
Yeah.
Right? They're coming in with their arrogance, saying that they're right, we're wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Which is also not great.
Well, and another great thing from the special features of the movie is, by this point in Japanese culture, they've learned that when priests come, armadas soon follow. So, of course, they're already on the defensive. Like, okay, if the priests are here, then war's coming.
Yeah.
And better to get rid of this now before it gets any worse.
I mean, by 1640, there have been enough religious wars.
Yeah, civil wars and all kinds of stuff in Japan.
There's been enough for them to have recorded history of it to say, like, listen, man, like,
we're done. We're done with this stuff.
I'm done with these religions coming in because it only causes chaos.
Yeah.
It only causes
And
war.
maybe that's why it's dangerous.
I think we maybe just figured it out.
Call Martin Scorsese.
We did it, buddy.
We figured it out.
We figured it out, even though you probably have the answer somewhere.
He's probably been like, wow, really?
Like,
this movie's 6 years old and you just figured it out.
Like, wow, you guys are idiots.
You guys are idiots. Never call me again.
Yeah.
How did you get my number?
Get out of my house.
Okay, well, I want to go to the scene with Father Ferreira.
Sure, yeah.
Because that is my favorite scene of the whole movie.
Okay.
Mainly because it lasted longer than I thought. Which I love it when scenes are so good that they go on. Like, it didn't last too long.
Right.
It lasted the exact amount it needed.
Well, and then we have this sort of buildup of tension throughout this last half because we keep thinking we're going to run into Ferreira, and then we don't until we finally do, and we're like, there he is. Right?
Yeah.
And the rumors are true. He has apostatized. He is
living as
a Japanese.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a Buddhist.
And shout out to Liam Neeson. Bro.
He's so good.
He's so good. Qui-Gon Jinn.
Oh my god.
But I love this. It's almost, I wouldn't say a battle of wits, but that's what I took it as, is almost a battle of wits between Ferreira and Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Because the monk that came with, or the priest, the Buddhist priest that came with Ferreira, and the interpreter are kind of staying quiet, and letting them talk. And Ferreira makes a lot of good points.
Yeah.
When St. Francis came to preach the gospel, he asked how to say the Son of God, and they told him the word for the Son.
Right.
And he's like, that's their Son of God.
Yeah.
Like, that's, and it was just so, and you can tell it's probably been weighing on Ferreira this whole time. And yes, has apostatized and he's living with that, but you can tell he's genuinely thought about it and was like, yeah, we were wrong.
Yeah.
We were wrong for trying to come in here and push our ideals on Japan. And I love the analogy he uses. Because, Rodriguez is like, the roots didn't grow. They were pulled up.
Yeah.
And he says, well, the roots can't grow in a swamp. They decay.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh.
I know.
Oh, man.
And, what he's saying is, it's almost, I took it as what he's saying is, listen, they're not so different. What we believe isn't dangerous, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay that they believe this, right?
Yeah.
It's, your Jesus is their son, right? In a way.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
It's okay that they don't believe the same things we do.
Right. And,
well,
yeah.
and the interpreter doubles down on that, because he tells him, he tells Rodriguez in that scene that, no man should ever try to disturb another man's spirit, that you should always help your fellow man. then that's where these two religions are the same.
Mm-hmm.
But Rodriguez is so, not blindsided, but he's just so disgusted, really, that his mentor
Right.
has renounced that he doesn't
right.
want to hear it.
He's still in shock that the rumors were true,
Yeah.
and that it wasn't slander; it was real. Right. That he has apostatized, that he is living as a Japanese, that he has renounced Christianity, Catholicism, and he's still holding out a little bit that he can stay strong, right?
Yeah.
And that is until he doesn't, right? Until he realizes all of these people that are being held upside down,
Which is a real thing they would do.
Yep. And dude, that incision, so the blood doesn't rush to their head. Holy shit, that's diabolical.
Oh yeah, 100%. Well, see, and I didn't expect it to go that way. I thought it would be, because we see it trickling down into his hair, that maybe the weight of how much his hair was getting wet with blood would pull him down more.
But it's really just, I don't want you to pass out. Yeah. You're just gonna stay upside down for
however
long we want.
Yeah.
The incision's just long enough
not to kill them.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Dude. I know. So once he realizes that these people have already apostatized, they have already renounced their religion. And what's even more, I guess, disturbing is the Japanese are basically saying you don't even have to mean it, in a way, because they're saying it's just a formality, right? I need you to say it, right? It's almost like I want to win, right?
Yeah.
And I want you to lose. And all right, the moment when he steps on the fumi, okay, when he steps on the image of Christ, I don't know if you caught it, and you may have already read about it or they talked about it, but you do hear the rooster crow.
No.
Somewhere in the distance, which is what happened to Paul when he denied Jesus 3 times in the Bible.
That's right.
Yeah. You can hear the rooster crow. Isn't that cool?
Shit, dude.
And the slow motion
of
the
him
music.
falling.
Yeah, the music, everything is just so heartbreaking, right? But also it's some sort of a relief, right? You're like, finally, he has decided to put his pride aside and give these people some peace.
And it's interesting. We've been talking about pride that Rodriguez has had, and that's one of many teachings in the Bible is let go your pride.
Right, yeah.
And you would think a priest
Yeah.
would have done that from day one.
But again, he is not Christ-like. He is human, just like everyone else.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
And I think that's sort of the main takeaway from Rodriguez's point of view, is that he's trying so hard to be this otherworldly thing, and he's just human.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it goes back to what you've been saying of he truly believes he's Japan's last hope.
Right.
And I think that, I mean, we've made that point several times.
Yeah. But that rooster crow, that was really
dude,
cool.
that was cool. I'm gonna have to rewatch it.
Yeah, you got to rewatch it. Yeah.
I'm gonna rewatch it just because I missed that.
And so now we can talk about something that I thought was absolutely tremendous, which is something Scorsese is so perfect at, is the changing of the narration, the changing of the perspective, right?
Yeah.
And now that Rodriguez has officially apostatized,
He's gonna and they said in the special features that they can't go back.
and it is no longer his story.
Yeah.
The narration changes.
Yeah, to Diedrich, a Dutch trader, I guess.
And I love that we're getting this point of view of someone that doesn't know these men personally. And so instead of getting these details that we would normally get, I would assume from another story, right? He is talking about them as if they're legends, right? And he even talks about like how they are outwardly spoke about, right?
Yeah.
That these are the two
Fallen priests,
right?
Yeah.
That now work to remove all Christian imagery, symbols, and people from Japan. They are almost basically in charge of it.
Yeah. They're sitting there monitoring all the artwork, the
I mean, we're talking canteens, we're talking anything that could have hidden religious imagery.
Yeah. And it's another great thing that Scorsese does is he plays with our expectations. You know, we see Father Ferreira like with the picture of the bird. He's like, oh, not Christian. And he puts it down. But then Rodriguez picks it up and then he pulls the bird down and he's like, no, it's Christian.
Yeah.
You know, it makes you think that maybe Ferreira may say like, oh, we were wrong. We shouldn't have made you do that.
Yeah.
But we don't. He never says that.
Right.
And it's kind of like Scorsese is saying like, no, Rodriguez has made his bed and he's going to lie in it now.
Yeah.
And it is heartbreaking to watch, especially because the whole movie we've been, in a way, sort of rooting for him to not give up.
Right. Yeah.
But he's given up.
Yeah.
But it's a given up that was necessary. He needed to give up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he was causing too much pain.
Yeah. And they even tell him that, like, we don't want to cause you pain. Just give it up.
Now, before we get to the very, very end, I can hear Zach saying, Kichiro, bro.
Yes.
We haven't talked about Kichiro.
Yeah.
I know. So, his character is fascinating because he is so lost and so confused, and he is a Judas figure, yes, right, by betraying the priest and Rodriguez especially more than once, but he's also a sort of Lucifer Satan figure by the constant temptations that he presents to Rodriguez constantly.
Well, and they say in the special features that he is, out of all the characters, the most human.
Yes, I would agree with that, and I love the way they made him look.
Yeah.
Right. Just his straight black hair and his darker robes. Right. He sticks out. Right. Yeah. And that's on purpose, obviously.
Well, and I love how as the movie progresses, you start to see the change in him each time until the very end when he's kind of cleaned up a little bit. He has his hair pulled back. And he's more, and as they call him in the final sequences, a servant.
Right.
And yeah, he is so interesting. And I kind of had a feeling. I was like, he's probably going to betray them at some point.
Yeah.
And I love the actual direct reference to Judas, because he's like, they said they'd give us 300 pieces of silver. 300. Wow, Judas only got 30.
Yeah.
And it's like, ooh.
Yeah. And when he does portray Rodriguez, in that scene with the stream, that's sort of the nail in the coffin for the Judas allegory.
Because he doesn't take the money. Well, he says
he says he doesn't take the money.
Says he didn't take.
I don't know if I believe him or not.
Neither do I. But he said he didn't betray him for the money.
But again,
which doesn't make sense.
Then he, the constant back and forth with, yes, I'm Christian. No, I'm not. Yes, I will step on the Fumi. I'm with you guys, but then no, I need to save myself. Right. It is sort of Judas behavior, but then again, I love in one of the articles, I don't know which one, it talks about him being a Satan figure also with the temptations and with the, much like the 40 days in the desert, right? It is sort of, he's almost taunting Rodriguez to apostatize, to give up this crusade.
And that's something else too, that they said that it's almost like he is there to parallel Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Saying how, like, I'll confess. I sinned, I'll confess, I'll be stronger next time.
Right.
And Rodriguez almost has to look inward for himself. Like,
yes,
I'll be stronger next time. Every time. It's almost like every time Kichiro shows up, that's what makes him more stubborn.
Yeah, or it's almost like, it's testing him in a way that obviously is a little bit different because Kichiro seems so broken and so beyond saving that Rodriguez has to say to himself, am I strong enough to forgive his sins one more time? Right? Am I strong enough to let him back in one more time? Am I strong enough to continue what I'm doing? Because if I can't, if I refuse, then I might as well apostatize. then might as well give it up.
Yeah.
And that's what he's there for. I think that's what Kichiro's there for.
Well, and then what I love is the final time we see Kichiro, he doesn't run away this time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he still. Do you? And I want to ask you: do you think Rodriguez gave him that necklace? Of what I would assume is.
Oh yeah,
a
good
saint.
point. It was a saint. I don't know which one. I don't know.
Because the Dutch narrator says that, he claims he won it gambling.
Yeah,
And,
I think Kichiro did find it somewhere else, knew what it was, and wore it anyway. I think that, again, he is so lost that he isn't sure if he wants to continue with this Buddhist lifestyle or embrace the religion his family died for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because his entire family died for being Christian,
yeah.
right?
Well, and in that final scene, he for sure probably died. But, he didn't run away that time.
No, he didn't. Which I think at that moment he was probably, I think he had finally decided,
I'm not going to run this time.
I'm Christian, maybe. Yeah. Because from the very beginning he flip-flops, right? Yeah. When the priests first meet him, they ask him if he's Christian, and the guy says yes, and Kichiro says no, right? Mm-hmm. And of course it's back and forth, right? Yeah. I think in that moment he finally realizes that he is, and again embracing the religion his family died for.
Yeah, yeah. It's
now the very end.
The very end, yeah, yeah. Rodriguez lives his life under constant vigilance too, because the Inquisitor still wants his example to be known
and to be pure, right?
Yeah.
And he never broke. He never wavered. He never spoke about Christianity again.
Nope.
He never showed any signs. No sign of the cross. No nothing. No religious symbols. Nothing. Right. And when he died, okay, he's in the thing.
The coffin.
Did his wife slip him that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Yeah, I had to look it up.
Yeah.
She slipped it.
Okay.
Well, because if she kind of.
Yeah, because she put her hand in there.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, because
of course they wouldn't have put him in with it in there. That makes sense.
Yeah, because they had 3 guards watching him because they wanted to really make sure.
Right.
That no Christian iconography was going to make it into this.
Right. And I love that. Okay, so he dies and is burned in the traditional Buddhist Japanese way, right?
Of cremation, yeah.
Holding a crucifix, right? Mm-hmm. That his wife slipped to him.
Yeah, because I think somewhere deep down his wife, who he inherited, we kind of skipped over that part.
Oh yeah, he inherited, which is weird, but probably culturally accurate.
Yeah. I think she knew deep down he was always Christian. And he and
it's that same one that he got from that villager, isn't it? Because he had already given up his crucifix, or his crucifix and his rosary, and before the 2 priests separate, he gets that crucifix.
I think so.
I think it's the same one, because when he is still imprisoned, he slips it in his waistband. Mm-hmm. And that's the last we see of it until the very end of the film. And I think he holds on to it and he keeps it, hides it somewhere. And obviously his wife knew about it and lets him die with it.
Yeah.
Right. Which again is this balance, right? I don't know if the movie is saying that he was never truly Buddhist. And I don't think it's saying he always stayed true to his Christianity. Because if that were true, then I don't think he would have allowed himself to live that long with this, or unless he truly saw the harm he was doing.
I'll agree to the last part.
Okay.
That he did see the harm he was doing.
Right. And again, I'm not married to any of these ideas.
I read it as deep in his heart, he was always Christian.
Right.
He's going to live this way because it's safe. Mm-hmm. people are not going to get hurt if I live this way.
Uh-huh.
And it's a way for him to still honor his mission.
Right.
I'm still honoring God by keeping these people safe.
Right. Okay.
By just performing the status quo.
I like that.
That's how I interpret it.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, a teacher said this once, and I love it so much, is not to define a film by its last moments.
Yeah.
Right? And so I don't want to define the entire film
Not at all.
By the hidden crucifix in the burial, right? But, you know, it is significant, right?
100%.
It's significant that his wife gave it to him, right? I think, again, it's him keeping this balance.
Yeah.
It's conforming to this Japanese way while respecting it, while still maintaining his original ideologies, right? Which is what this film is doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, they'll never find it because
it's going to burn.
It's just going to burn.
Right.
Yeah. And, yeah, it's... Man. Movie, I'm definitely going to have to rewatch it again.
Oh, yeah.
100%. It was phenomenal. I mean...
And I saw it 6 years ago. I mean, that was the last time I saw it when it came out.
Yeah. So I'm going to be real with you right now, dude.
Yeah.
Raging Bull was probably... This is hard for me. I almost want this to be my favorite Martin Scorsese movie.
Okay, yeah.
Because I love Raging Bull.
Yeah.
But the story, the level of storytelling in this, man, is... And again, you know, I said it 2 weeks ago when we teased that we were going to do this movie. Scorsese, I feel like, has no discernible genre. Just like...
Right.
How did we do?
Like Linklater doesn't have a discernible genre.
Exactly. You know, Scorsese's dipped into the realm of kids' movies with Hugo. You know, he's dipped into sports movies.
Now, I think they have their expertise and their concentrations.
Absolutely.
I would say Linklater's is college age, teenage, introspective, existential.
Oh,
you know, comedies, right?
100%.
Or dramedies.
Yeah.
Right. And his, of course, is gangster films. Right.
Yeah.
I would say.
Well, and Scorsese, and I was also reading that this is the third religious movie he's done exploring these ideas of doubt. And, you know, first, of course, being The Last Temptation of Christ. The second being...
Oh, good luck. I couldn't pronounce it at all.
It's something about the Dalai Lama.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. I saw the poster, and I was like, ooh. This is a Scorsese
Judging
movie?
a book by its cover.
Well, it's a very 90s poster as well.
It's bad.
Yeah, like almost looked like it was made in MS Paint.
That's funny.
Like, ugh. But it doesn't interest me, so I probably won't watch it anyway.
Yeah, right
but it's just interesting that he not only wants to tell these stories, but tells them so well.
Right.
Like, even though I've heard that Last Temptation of Christ is so controversial, it's still a genuinely fantastic movie.
Probably, yeah.
Oh yeah,
I will see it one of these days.
I mean, of course. Well, I mean, it's Willem Dafoe's Jesus.
I know.
So,
I have to see it.
yeah.
It's gonna be so good.
But I don't know, man. And I love that it simultaneously it feels like a Martin Scorsese movie, but at the same time, it's not.
Right. I agree.
You know, you wouldn't think he would do this epic historical drama.
Right.
But then at the same time, it's like, well, who better than Martin Scorsese?
Right. But then again, it's he did Gangs of New York. He did The Aviator. You know what I mean? Like, so he can and he does.
Yeah.
Right. So it should be no surprise.
Yeah.
By the way, Daniel Day-Lewis was originally Ferreira.
Really?
Yeah. And this is insane. Are you ready?
Okay.
And Liam Neeson was originally Lincoln, and they swapped.
Really?
Yeah.
No offense to D-Day. Shout out to our Phantom Thread episode, but Liam Neeson crushed it.
Eventually we'll do
Ferrero.
There Will Be Blood. Have we done that yet?
No.
Okay.
I have it now. So I've got all of PTA's movies.
Okay, good. Because that movie's just tremendous and amazing and unbelievable. You know, it's so good. But I mean, so is this.
Yeah.
We can stick with that.
So Jeremy, are you ready to wrap up?
I am. The music's amazing. The cinematography is gorgeous. This movie looks incredible.
They filmed it in Japan, right?
I believe so, or at least
Parts of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I know as we were watching together off mic, they used blue screen for a lot of stuff, which is you can't even tell.
You can't even tell. Yeah, I think Scorsese and Fincher are the best.
That digital CGI.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think they're.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Especially, sidebar everyone, especially because Scorsese's like, it's got to be flawless.
Right.
Like,
He's not going to take anything else.
As we talked with our Irishman episode. Yeah. He didn't want them wearing balls on their heads. He didn't want dots. Figure out how to do it, and then we'll do it that way.
Right. Yeah.
And they did.
It's a very Buster Keaton way of thinking. We're doing it in one shot, or we're thinking something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I remember putting this movie on my list and was like, yeah, I do want to see that movie. I don't know if we'll get to it. And now I kind of wish I would have said it earlier.
Yeah.
God, it was so good.
I know.
It was so good.
I know.
Man.
Yeah.
So, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Now that you're back, we'll still do it next week.
Yeah, we'll see.
What are we talking about next week, man?
That's a good question. Okay. I'm looking at my stuff.
That's fine.
I'm running out.
So am I, dude.
We are nearing the end of this thing.
I know, man.
We're gearing up. It's gonna, whatever.
While you decide, sidebar everyone, I don't know if we'll do another season this long. It's been hard for me to keep track of all the episodes.
It's hard, yeah. I agree with that.
Well, luckily this is just a one-off, because lucky number 7. That's why we're doing it. So big.
It's such an arbitrary reason why we're doing it. I think we fell ass backwards into that reason.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do.
But see, now we're too far in. We have to keep going.
Oh, for sure. Well, I'm not going to stop.
We have to keep going.
Can't stop, won't stop, my man. Okay. Sure. All right. Next week, we are going to be discussing On the Waterfront.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Some Brando.
Yeah, Brando. And I think it's Elia Kazan did On the Waterfront. I might be wrong.
Let's see. You were right.
Yeah. Okay.
Luckily, it was right here within arms.
He is an incredible filmmaker. If you
this is what we're doing.
If you look at Elia Kazan's filmography, you're just gonna be like, "Holy shit, this guy does everything," and they're all good too.
Yeah.
One of Scorsese's favorite filmmakers, by the way.
Really?
So it kind of flows. Yeah. So yeah, On the Waterfront next week.
And this was a recent ad for you. So interesting.
I know. I thought about it because I was like, you know what, man? I haven't seen it. I want to real bad. Let's make it an excuse. So let's just do it for the show.
Yeah.
So I feel bad I haven't seen it, right? Like I feel like I should. I'm the movie guy.
I also just realized too that Chaplin's last movie he directed had Marlon Brando.
Yeah, it was something New York or some weird title.
Yeah,
I consider Limelight his last film because he did that one after that, and then it was.
Well, he did 2.
Oh, okay.
It did 2 after Limelight. Because that's after he got kicked out of the country.
Right, kicked out of the country.
Yeah, thanks McCarthy.
Yeah, thanks, dude.
Shout out to our Chaplin episode.
Yeah.
And I knew that because of Chaplin. That's the one part of the movie. Hang on, everyone. We'll close the episode out after this. The one part of the movie that they focused on, besides all his relationships, is they kicked him out of the country.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, everyone, we hope you enjoyed Silence. We're glad Jeremy's back.
Yeah.
And safe.
Glad I'm safe.
And we will see you next week for On the Waterfront.